Hello, hello, and welcome to Courageous Women Speak. I am your host, Dr. Talisha Berry. I am the publisher of Courageous Woman Magazine, Courageous Men Magazine, and Authors Who Launch. I help women up level their brands, help them write books that help accentuate their brands, their products, and their services. Courageous Woman Magazine was established in 2011. That's a lot of years ago. And we have been going strong ever since. We help extraordinary women start, operate, move their brand. So today we're going to be talking to a courageous woman and her courageous man. We're talking to the doctors Serrano. So we'll be right back and talk to them. We're going to bring them into the show. The Serranos. So in today's world, tensions are high all around us. Couples are faced with an ever-changing world and much added stress. COVID and the pandemic of 2020 has taken a toll on everyone, causing many to find themselves reevaluating life as they knew it and wondering what the future holds. Marriages are no exception to this. Marriage is the foundation of the family, the bedrock of society. Sadly, marriages are now an endangered species. Couples have lost interest in finding ways to evolve into successful relationships they once envisioned and desired for their marriage. The doctors, Richard and NEPHETINA Serrano, are known as the marriage CEOs. They are relationship specialists and will share with you some words of wisdom and tips on how to uplevel your marriage and be the best you can be, creating a new future that is mutually agreeable and a future that you can grow in and continue your journey to success and forever in marriage. Welcome.
How you doing?
Hello.
How
Hi
are you
there.
today? First of all, I want to say Happy Valentine's.
Happy
Happy
Valentine's.
Valentine's. Another year, we made it through.
Yes, yes, you guys have been married for 33 years.
Yes,
Woo!
yes. Woo,
For that. Oh my God. That is, I'm sure that has been a journey, a journey. So tell us about that. Give us how it started to where you are today.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, it started with a prayer. It started with a prayer.
Yes, it did.
As a young girl, I was, I was tired of just dealing with guys. I just wanted a relationship, something long term. And my aunt was remarried after my uncle passed away, and I loved her new husband. He just adored her. He treated her with so much love and respect and appreciation. And I saw something that I wanted. I was like, I want that kind of relationship. And so I'm working at a pizza shop after school, and I'll never forget it. I went into the bathroom and I was just sad, and I just started crying, and I said, Lord, I want a long-term relationship. I want somebody to love me like my Uncle Dalton and who loved my Aunt Mary. And I wanted that. And so, I remember on that same day when my girlfriend met me after work, we were headed down the street and getting ready to go to the movies. And I'll never forget, this car rides by with these Puerto Ricans in the car. And I'm like, what? In this neighborhood? Where they come from? And
It was
that
not a
all
Puerto
they
Rican
were.
neighborhood.
That was all she wrote. But the very day that I prayed, God answered.
Amen. Amen. And it's been 33 years. Oh my
33
God.
years.
That is
Yes.
awesome. Thank God for you being a praying woman, for
Yes,
sure. And a
ma'am.
praying young woman at that. And so
Yes.
that I think that's the key to finding the right mate. Is prayer. So what is it that you when you talk to people, did you talk to them about prayer? Do you implement that in your coaching? How do you talk to them about that? Because I know some people they didn't understand. They don't understand that, but I know that is key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, Well, Dr. Talisha Barry, we just want to thank you for having us on the show. This is exciting to be here with you. You are making a difference in a lot of people's lives, so we appreciate you and the work that you do. It does not go unnoticed. I just want you to know that.
Thank
Amen.
you.
Amen. So I want to say that, it's not always, I wasn't saved when I met my wife. Now, she got saved at an early age. It does not mean that not being saved, I didn't want to do better and be better, right? So we have to make sure that we have to minister where they are. A lot of them that come to us are broken. They don't know what direction to go in. A lot of them have emergency situations. We do talk about the Lord and whether or not they're saved and things of that nature, just to make sure that they have the right foundation, because we cannot do it without God. It doesn't work with this just us two alone. It has to be a mediator in between us, and we have to go to him individually, and then we can go to him together.
Wow.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yes, that is totally important, especially when you want to have a lasting relationship. You guys talk about having a forever marriage.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Wow. Well, we just believe that, that marriage, when God instituted marriage, it was that it would be successful, that it would last forever, right? Till death do you part is what the vows say. To death we do part.
I did not know that part. Wait a minute.
And so we just believe, you can,
time.
forever is a long time. It is, but you can have forever in your marriage. You can have good success in that journey. Yes. But marriage is a journey, and so that's part of the forever that we share with people. And in a journey, there are some roadblocks, there are some stop signs, there's some yield signs. Sometimes some obstacles even in the journey, but forever is a long time, but you can have it in your marriage.
Absolutely. Some people have issues where, they have obstacles that, every marriage, I think, has some challenges. I mean, most people will say, sometimes looking in on a marriage, like you think everything is perfect, but that there may have been some things that you've had to overcome, and together you had to overcome them. What are some of the obstacles you may have had to overcome that you want to share, and how other people can overcome their obstacles?
So I want to comment on something. I think this is important, because every time I turn my GPS on, right, it takes me to my destination, but it doesn't tell me of the obstacles that are coming up and the detours that we have to go through. It still seems like a smooth ride, right? So God don't reveal those things to us, because if he did, we would probably turn around and don't even go on the journey, right?
Wow.
So I wanted to bring that up, because every time I turn on my GPS, that does come to my mind. And then when I look at it, I'm like, oh, the police is here. There's some road construction and detours going on. And then I look at my wife and I says, wow, babe, every day is a journey. Every day we go through something. And we have to conquer it together. We have to still love in spite of. We've been through some things. And I know that we have been released to talk about some things we've been through. And about the toughest thing that we've been through was infidelity. So that was a really tough time for us, right? Yeah. And I needed to get counseling. So I went to counseling, and I told my wife, whether you come or not, I have to go, because it was a time for me when I turned 50 and crisis was happening. I didn't want to spend any money at all. I wanted to save all my money. I didn't know what was going on, but I had a lot going on in my life. So we had to conquer that together. So she decided to come with me. And thank God she did, because, listen, two are better than one. You can do so much better having your mate next to you than not having your mate next to you. I don't know how people can wake up every day and split and then come back when it's time to go to bed. And I understand because of jobs and schedules and things like that. But it does have to be a time where you have to put the time in your marriage in order to get something out of your marriage. But in about the 5th session is when I found out my purpose in life. And then God started turning things around for us. So I would say that you have to do it together. There's no way that I can leave her alone and she can leave me alone and say, listen, babe, this is your fight. You got to do it together. No, this is our fight. And we have to pray for one another.
Wow. Well, for me, as you said, there are many obstacles. You're going to have those. So he just mentioned one. But we know what it is to lose. We know what it is to go a day away from being homeless, sleeping in our car, and saying, if we don't get the call tomorrow, we don't know where we're going to go. We know what it is to build a house from the ground up and pick out every fixture. And we know what it is to lose a house in foreclosure. We know what it is to have a full bank account with overflow. And we know what it is to have zero and in the negative. We know what it is to drive 3 cars and have them at your disposal. And we know what it is to lose them 2 in one day. So let me tell you, we've been here for a minute.
Amen.
And we understand that, it's not happy all the time. But what we do know is if you go through it together with a mindset that defeat is not an option in your marriage or in your relationship, then you can have, like we said, that longevity. And when you learn how to just do things a little different and begin again, have that up-leveling experience, then you can take this thing all the way to the success that God intended for you to have.
Amen. Now, you, Dr. Richard, you talked about counseling. A lot of relationships don't want to go to counseling. They think all I'm going to do is tell all my business, especially men. I know that for a fact. They don't want to go to counseling. So what would you say to a man? Like, what is the benefits of counseling? Why is it important for a marriage, when you have those challenges, that you have someone with the skill set to intervene in your marriage, from a counseling standpoint? How important is that?
Yeah, I always say to the men is that, you can lose control at the job, but you cannot lose control at home, because you can lose everything at home. And for counseling, I always let them know it reveals who you really are. So the true boy in you has to be a man. And most of the time, I let them know that if you don't go to counseling and get what you need, then it's going to be a longer journey for you, because marriage is for mature adults. And as a child, as a man, looking like a man, but you still have that child mentality, it's going to reveal itself, a lot of times in those decision makings moments. So I always let them know, listen, as a Hispanic myself, we don't believe in counseling. It wasn't something that, it was the first thing on our list to do. It was always that we looked at our parents or our aunts and uncles, and we did what they did. They told us, you have to do this. If she gets on your nerve, leave the house. But leave the house to go where? They forgot that part. Where do you go when you leave the house, right? So, we have to learn these things on our own. Thank God that I did go to counseling early, and that helped me. Because, I had some conflicts with my mother, and then we had to, come to an agreement. But because of counseling, I was able to get there. But I tell the men that counseling reveals who you are. And I can't wait to really meet the real you, because there's some good brothers out there that are powerful men. Yeah. And we would never know that if they don't get that counseling they need to really be the man that God has created them to be.
That's right. Wow.
Well, say that, because it's some men listening.
Come on, man. Step it up.
Level up.
I know that. I know, some of my friends, we talk about that, how they have gone to counseling alone. I was that one. So I understand that. And I know how important it is. And it was important for me, as a married woman to go to counseling. I went by myself, but it was the best thing that I could have done, but it had to work for me. Unfortunately, the marriage did not work, I did 20 years, but it didn't. But God is still good. We're cool. But I want to just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because it's so important. Counseling is so important. It was the best thing that I could have done for myself.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen. I'm so glad.
So let's talk about the journey, because so many people, they get to a certain point and they just want to call it quits. They just separate, or they just like, I'm done. It's over with. What do you say, to those people?
Wow. What I say is you have to, I think Dr. Serrano said it earlier, have a mindset. So in the journey, you realize, we say those vows, but do we really say them with an understanding? And are we really listening to what we're saying? Right? We hear them spoken to each other, but are we really getting the gist of what it means? And I think that's why today, in today's society, everyone wants to write their own vows. And those are good. But the vows, that came with covenant and what it meant and that longevity, I think we need to first be clear on that so that we can have a better understanding of our position, our role, and our responsibility as it pertains to the marriage. There is accountability and responsibility on each one of our parts. And so you're going to, we have to get to that place where we understand that responsibility, and that's the only way we're going to be able to journey in this thing called marriage and make it happen the way we desire for it to happen. We got to be intentional in our marriage. We talk about intentionality when it comes to workplace, when it comes to making the coin, when it comes to getting the bag and all of that. But when it comes to our marriage and longevity, we don't talk about the intentional disposition that we need to have on saying, no, we're going to make it. We're going to learn. We're going to go and seek counseling, because the word says in a multitude of counsel, there's safety. We obtain wisdom with an understanding. Because if you don't get an understanding of your role, your position, your responsibility, then you won't even understand how to be accountable. How do I be accountable to something I don't understand? And so it's really important that we learn. See, I believe that we get in this thing called marriage and we just want, we want all the good. And we don't want to suffer. But even the word says, if you suffer with me, you'll reign with me. And that's in any situation. When you go through hardships with someone and then you overcome those hardships, it makes you better. It makes you stronger. You're more resilient. You're able to move forward. And so when new obstacles come, honey, you be like, I see you. I see you. And you're no match for me, because I already won the battle. See, you got to have that kind of mindset that you already won.
Thank you. Because a lot of couples, they think, I can't do this anymore. It's too much pain. I don't want it, especially when there's been infidelity. Some people just don't feel they can get past that. It's just, that's done. It's over. And then later they kind of, feel bad about it. I get that. What do you say to a person who is just like, I'm not doing this anymore. The infidelity is just too much. I can't handle it.
I mean, I would definitely say, because we are living witnesses, that you can get through it and it can be better than it was before. You have to commit yourself from the beginning. I mean, this is a trial and tribulation kind of thing. You have to know that those trials and tribulations do come to make us strong. It comes to build us up. Right. I mean, Ephesians 4:29, let no corrupt thing come out your mouth. Only those things to edify. So we have to make sure that we are edifying each other and treating each other with respect. Right. We have to be transparent. That's evident. It has to be a 24-hour transparency. If not, it's not going to work. The phone goes down, doesn't have to go with you everywhere you go to the bathroom and all that stuff. right? It has to be a point in place where you have to reassure each other, whether you did the offense or didn't do the offense. You have to make sure, especially if you did the offense, you have to reassure and make sure that that person know, babe, I made a mistake. It'll never happen again, man. I'm with you. I'm here. I love you. Those reassuring words have to come out all the time, because you never know, if you're watching a movie, somebody's name come up, anything that can happen that can mess up the mood you're trying to create. And you can look in that person's eyes and know something just happened. The atmosphere changed, and you have to capture that moment and say, babe, I'm really sorry. I understand that, and let's just move forward. That's why you need counseling, because in counseling is where you let everything go. So when you're together, you start creating new memories together, right? You take new pictures together, and you put them in your bedroom, because those are the pictures when you turn around on your bedside and you look at those pictures, those are the pictures going to make you smile and always going to keep you remembering the good times.
Yeah. Wow. Dr. Berry, one of the things I want to say very quickly is this. We all fall short. And, we all have our crosses that we also have to bear. But I'm going to talk to everyone. I want to be able to speak to everyone, even those that are desiring to be married. Because I want to say this. First of all, you're hearing this first on the Dr. Talisha Berry Show. Yes, Courageous Woman Magazine. This is something that we've never really opened up yet, but God has released us to begin to talk about it. Why? Because these are the things that matter most. This is what couples are going through and suffering. And I know that you're out there. I know that you're seeing us tonight and you're like, wow, Dr. Richard, oh my goodness. And I know it's probably breaking some people's heart. But what I want you to understand is we're good. We're better than good. We're better than we ever was. And this didn't happen in 2 or 3 or 4 years of marriage. It happened way down the line. So what am I saying? I'm saying that even when I had to have that conversation with God, what do you do in that moment? You talk to your creator. You let him know just how you feel. Right. Because, he said he is a mender of broken hearts. He is the one that can heal you from the inside out. See, our hearts was never meant for man, period. Not your husband, not your children, not your mother, not your father. Our hearts are meant for God. Right. And so when your heart get broken, you had your heart in a place that it was never supposed to be. But God said, because he knew that you would and we would fall into some of these places and spaces sometimes, that your heart would get broken by a friend, by your lover, by your husband, by your spouse, by your mother. He knew that we would have broken hearts. And he said, I can heal that broken heart because it was meant for him. And see, just remember this, especially for our saints out there, our children of God. You need to understand, when he says he's a jealous God, he is a jealous God. Our hearts were never meant for man. I'm going to teach it to you one day. Our hearts were meant for God. And so stop giving people your heart. That doesn't mean you don't love them. That's right. See, God commanded us to love, and then we have the choice to do that or not. But we were never commanded to give anybody our hearts. And I just wanted to share that with you tonight.
That's awesome. That's awesome because, some of my single friends, we're going to get to talking about singles too. They're like, I'm not giving nobody my heart. No more. So, I want to first talk about the duration of your marriage. What has been like that glue? We want to know what really, like, how is it just, has it been laughter? What has been like that thing that just like, y'all ain't going nowhere?
So what you think?
Well, I mean, for me is our friendship, because a friend sticks closer than a brother. We can't always show up being married all the time.
That's right.
We started off as friends. When we met 2 years, we dated before we got married, And I was on drugs. I needed a friend. I needed someone at the time, and I didn't know what it was. But when I met my wife, I needed her to be a part of my life because she was a Christian woman, didn't do the things I did. And that's what it was for me. I was at a safe place. So I think the friendship for me was huge. We talked about everything. We treated, we shared. I just think that if you don't have that trust, because that's really what it comes down to, right? It comes down to trusting one another. And not only that, but, in counseling, when I found my purpose and all, then I started trusting God more. So in trusting God more, I was able to trust my wife more. But not trusting God was hard to trust my wife. So I believe that friendship was the glue. Learning the things that she liked, you have to put the time in. It's just like having a bank account where you don't put no money in, you don't get no withdrawal. But if you're married, you putting time in, you're going to have some withdrawals when the tough time comes. So just remember that if you're not putting that time in, the friendship, listen, back in the day, my wife, she cooks Spanish food, Italian, so she cooks everything. She has that old spirit, that mom spirit.
Tell it, honey. Yes, I do.
So, she's the head chef.
That's important.
That's right. That was a glue too, right?
That's a glue right there. You gotta know how to cook, okay?
That's right.
Yes.
So she's the head chef, and I'm the prep, and I do the dishes. So we spend time in the kitchen together, and then that's where we do a lot of our talking and things like that. So that's what does it for me.
And for me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
For me, I am 100% all into the friend.
Yeah.
This is my bestie.
That's right.
This is my ace coon boom. Listen, when I'm sick, when I'm down, when I'm happy, he's the first person I want to tell. I want to talk to. Honey, you guys what happened? And I think for me, that was why the impact of the adverse action caused so much hurt, because it's like, that's my friend, like, who I'm gonna go to now. And so friendship is you got to be friends. You know why? Because this is one of the things that we've learned in friendship. In friendship, there is no judgment.
Right.
In friendship, you're not sitting there to judge each other, and you may offer suggestions, but it's not, I'm telling you, this is what you need to do. Right. That's not how we talk to a friend. Right. We're like, baby, listen, girl, you got to chill. You got to relax, calm down. Right. In marriage, we like, well, who you talking to? You can't talk to me that way. But with a friend, you be like, you just said that wrong. So when you're having those discussions, you need to talk to each other like a friend. And remember that friendship that you once had. And if you didn't have it in the beginning, however you made it to matrimony, you did. You need to know that you need to reinstitute it, or you need to institute it in your relationship. Because as a friend, like he said, sits closer than a brother. They're going to be there for you no matter what.
And it's okay to hurt that person with, I'm not saying with words, but the Bible says speak truth and in honesty, right? And love. If you come across in what you're saying in love, then it's going to hurt for a little bit, because the truth does hurt sometimes.
But you're not ready to receive it.
But as long as you say it, it's off you, and now God has to work. You don't want to hold these things in.
Yeah.
That's important. Being truthful and honest. Sometimes it may hurt, but in the long run, it is important that they know. We know what you got to tell the truth, and it sounds like Dr. NEPHETINA, you have been the round the way girl. I got your back, girl. You've been that. How important is it to be that? To be that woman who's going to stick by her man regardless, because so many women's like the first sign of trouble, like I'm out. Like, how important is it, especially when you're a praying woman, you've been together, You have a life together. You have children. You have built a life together. How important is it to stick? To stick
Wow.
it.
It is very important because it goes to that forever. Now I know there's a lot of you out there saying, you know what I'm saying, infidelity, that's the one thing I can't do. And this is how I challenge you. You can't or you won't. Right. And you have that choice. Absolutely have that choice. And the Bible as devastated as I was, and this is our first time discussing this, so you're getting it live. Okay. So I'm saying and share it because we're going to be sharing it more and more as God release us to. It's not for everybody everywhere at every place, but it will come in its season, in its time. And so I believe we're at that place now, and you have to be forbearing with yourself. See, that's part of the issue, is that we come down so hard on ourselves, and we're pointing the finger at ourselves like, how crazy are you? How dumb are you? Like, didn't you? And listen, when you get to that place in that space and you're at that arrival point, and it is what it is, then you just have to know that, you know what? We're going to get through this, because, God is the head counselor. That's right. He's the chairman of the board of every corporation, because this is a corporation right here. He the president. I'm the executive vice president. And God is the chairman of the board. That's right. And he is the one that instituted this thing. And I believe that he is the one that'll keep it. That's right. God will keep your marriage if you want it to be kept. And you can get through it, and it can be better. Because I can tell you now, we love more, we honor more, we respect more, we're more appreciative of one another. It's never one-sided. Don't get it twisted. Never.
We don't compromise.
Never. It's, we come through the table, we negotiate. That's right. We work it out. Why? So we both can leave with something that we desired.
Now let's talk about words. You mentioned how important it is to be honest. How is it, when do you know when to back off, when it comes to words that may be abusive or painful? I know we have to be honest, but there's always a way to do things, say things, so that it doesn't come off, too hurtful that you will run the other way.
When a Puerto Rican comes out of me, no.
Whatever.
No.
It's
like,
tone.
Where that came from?
Tone matters.
Tone matters. That's a good one. Yes, absolutely.
Tone matters. I was in class. It was one of my counseling classes, and I was reading a book, and it was a long time ago. But in the book, they said that we have a lot of characteristics of people in our families that we've never met before, that died prior to us, right? And sometimes they'll come up and say, "Wow, you are just like your, Don Placido, which is my grandfather." And I says, "Well, I don't know my grandfather, but I have, those characteristics like my grandfather. So I don't know how he was." But a lot of things inside of us is because of our, some of our ancestors, uncles, aunts, and grandparents. And so we don't know where they come from or how to deal with them. And that's why when those things happen, we do have to learn how to ponder the things that we say. That's good, yeah. And ponder even our thoughts. Was it not Miles Monroe? It was another preacher. When he said, "I doubt that doubt," when we have doubt, Jesse Duplantis, that will come into your mind. Like, you can't doubt that doubt. You say, "Oh, yes, I can. I can doubt that doubt." That's right. So we have to make sure that, that the words that comes out of our mouth, that we're also listening to them as well. And to make sure that it's not hurting our spouse, because we're there to make sure that we're covering our spouse. As a man, we're supposed to cultivate and make better. That's our job. Now, it doesn't matter if she's not complying and she's not doing what she's supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do. See, we're held responsible, and we're held at a higher standard because we're the men of the house. So it's certain things that we have to keep in check and keep in order to make sure. Yes, do we say things that's out of control or whatever? Most of the times, if I'm hungry. And
Don't talk about
it's just the way it is. And I don't know if all men, but I know when I need to eat or something, and we're having a discussion, we just learn how to table it, to say we cannot have that discussion right now because we have to eat or we have to get some sleep, or you have to start learning each other and learning the timing of the conversations. But yes, it does come out. We're humans. We're regular people, and we just learn how to channel it and how to accept it and know that we have to take care of that at another time when we're calm and ready for the conversation.
Yeah. Also, I just want to add to that, you have to know your mate.
You have to know your mate. Yeah.
Know your mate. When you know your partner, when you understand your spouse and you get them and you know what's going to tick them off. If he walked through the door and he just coming home from 12 hours of working and he's been out all day, that he needs a moment, or she, because I work 12 hours a day too. Okay. So, when she comes home or she's just channeling off for most of us that are working now, we're just shutting down the computer. We need a minute. We can't go right into that conversation. So our suggestion, and I think a lot of times we share this, is have times of the week. And we saw something, or I read something somewhere where it was the 3 plus 3 plus 3, the 3 times 3. And what that is you take 3 hours out of the week to make sure you're having interaction and communication with one another. And whether you do 1 hour today, a half hour this day, or a half hour every day, but have a specific moment in time each day that you're sharing with each other, and make sure that at least at the end of the week, you spent quality 3 hours with each other. Mine is your date night.
Right. Have to have a date night.
1 out of 7, gotta have 1.
I think that's important. Date night is important. Some couples go 3, 4, 5, 6 or years and not really take the time to date. And I mean, seriously date, like you're just starting a relationship. I think that's important. How important
you think that is?
Yeah.
It's very important because it allows you to remember when, it allows you to have those reflective moments. A lot of our wonderful communication time is in our car when we do long rides. Right. We really enjoy that time together.
We have some good fights too.
We have our meetings, we have our disagreements. But we get it out. We get it out. We get it out in the car instead of bringing that into your home, where your home is supposed to be your safe haven. It's supposed to be your oasis. A place where you don't where chaos and confusion stays listen on the other side of the door.
That's right. And
so it's really important, and we practice that very intentionally when it comes to our house. I mean, really shake the dust and move it into your oasis. Don't take that stuff into the house, up into the bedroom, and then nobody gets a good night's sleep. We can't have that.
Now, you mentioned your elders. All of us have big mamas and aunties and grandmamas that gave us some words of encouragement.
Yes.
What are some things that someone in your family may have shared with you that's positive, that may have been encouraging to your marriage?
Want me to go first?
Sure. I'm going to think about it.
Well, one thing I remember from my oldest brother is he said, whoever you give money to is not going to get back to you. But that's beside the point. So I always remember that. But I can I guess say that my pastor of over 25 years.
No.
30 years.
31.
Over 31 years. We just went to his 90th birthday
just
celebration.
The other day. Yeah.
Bishop Mars, Ernest C. Mars at Mount Airy Church of God in Christ. So he was a preacher, but he was a preacher of what do you call it? Life application.
Yeah.
So his words was always that if your wife doesn't look the way you want her to look, it's your fault. And I've always remembered that, because it's my fault, because you can buy her clothes, or you can give her the money so she can get clothes. And you know, if you like something on another woman, don't say, wow, she looks fine, she looks good. Wow, I wonder how that would look on my wife. So I would say that he had a lot of words of wisdom, but that was one of the words that I took early on in my marriage from him. And I think it changed my life, because I looked at my wife different, you know, because I've always wanted to make sure she looked nice and represent not just me, but that she was comfortable with what she had on.
Wow. Thank you, honey.
And I do buy her clothes myself. I do shop for her.
He knows my style, my frame,
Oh,
honey.
yeah.
I don't do much shopping without him, honestly.
He can pick it up and be like, nope.
Yeah, he's been that guy that don't mind going with me to the mall and helping me shop. I love it, because I like to get all the clothes at one time, try them on, and then take what I'm going to take, because I can't go in store to store to store to store. I can't do that. It's just too much.
Well, let me get a man a quick tip. You don't wait outside in a car. She's going to take longer. If you go in with her and help her, she'll come out quicker. Now, it might not be that quick, I'm just saying, but it will be quicker than you waiting outside the car. That's a good tip there.
They want to know what they think.
Yeah, we do. We value their input. I want to look good for my man, right? I want to look good for him. I want to look good for myself. But I love that my husband, he also encourages in the form of taking care of my body, eating well, just all of those things. He really encourages me all the way around. And I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for that. He's very good. He's very disciplined. And so some areas that I may tend to kind of dibble in, he's very, not rigid, that he doesn't make, some alterations here and there, but he's very good with that. And I learned from that. When it comes to people that one person that really stuck out to me, there's two people, and if I'm going to use a woman, I'm going to use my mother and my auntie, because they both raised me. And I'm going to say, my mom, she taught me that, sometimes you may not like your situation. It doesn't mean you have to settle, because at some point you have to choose you. And so my mom taught me. So I have this new platform that I'm bringing forth, and it's teaching women, as I coach them and mentor them, to learn to love you more, learning to love you more. And it doesn't mean you love anybody else less. It just means that you're taking time out to love and appreciate you for who you are, and for how what you were birthed into the earth to do. And you're not making apologies or excuses to anyone on how you move, because you're moving according to how God is directing you, and you don't have to make apologies for that. And so I did, because I didn't realize how much of a people pleaser I really was. Because I love to see people happy. I love people so much genuinely that I just want them to be happy. If I give you my word, I will suffer to live by my word.
That's true.
Once I've given it. And so I'm learning, girl.
Throw her the lifeline.
You don't have to suffer. Let your yay be yay and your nay be nay. And no is a complete sentence. Yeah. And it's okay. Or not at this time.
It's important to love ourselves in a relationship, because especially married and have kids, and the responsibilities that we have for caring for a husband, caring for kids. I spoke a lot of kid language. I had to learn, to really this is not an adult conversation. Right. I had to learn to, really spend time with myself, love on myself and my friends. And I have a lot of women who are at that point right now and still raising kids. And I always encourage them, really find yourself, I didn't do that until afterwards. But find yourself and stay focused on what you want to do. Some of the things, some of the dreams and aspirations that you want to do. I'm doing that now. My kids are grown, and and I've moved on with my life. But during that time, you can really be in working on yourself during that time in the marriage. So I think that is important.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Okay, I got only a couple more questions. We're gonna get ready to close out. Being that it's Valentine's, there's some singles that desire to be married. What are some of your tips, for us who are desiring to be married?
So I definitely want to say to them is to build your personal resume. And what do I mean by that? I mean that all of your experience, all of your work history, and all the things that you do, just like you go out to a company and you have your resume and you are looking for the right job. You want to make sure that before you make a commitment to that person, that you learn some of the history about that person, right? That you make sure the reputation is right. Make sure that who they are culturally, right? Make sure that you learn as much as you can about that person before you make a commitment. Because once you make that commitment, both of your personal resumes will be what you would be using in your marriage. So whatever history he's coming with, whatever experience, whatever upbringing, all of those things is going to be in your marriage. You're going to marry a community. You're not just marrying that person.
That's right.
And if that person is keeping you away from family, that's a red flag right there. Be careful with that.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that that person loves you and loves the people around you and who you love. Because it doesn't matter. It's not going to matter if they don't love the people that you love and only love you. The marriage doesn't work like that. When you're marrying the community, which is your aunts, your uncles, your mother, and everybody. At least you have to be respectful enough to say, listen, wow, let's work it. Let's work it together. Let's do something. You have to have some goals. You can't leave each other out as a marriage. You still have to be an individual.
Absolutely.
But I would definitely say you have to make sure that you learn about that person before you make a commitment. And boyfriend and girlfriend don't count. You can always move on before you get married. Once you say I do, it's a different ballgame.
That's right. One of the things I'll say about that is when, to our singles, there's a lesson that I'm teaching. It's called Stop, Look, and Listen. Mm-hmm. So I think we get so excited over the beginning stages or the courtship of the relationship. And some people don't even go through that part, but it's very important because it's in that courtship of the relationship that you're learning each other. Right. I think FICO scores are important. That's a serious issue. How do you owe debt? Do you have debt? I mean, that's not something you're going to talk about on a first date. Right. Of course not. But it is something that, by that third day, y'all need to be talking about real issues. Because why waste time? I mean, if you're going to be friends, hey, you could be friends. But if you're looking and desiring to be married, women or men.
So are you saying that lust don't last long?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, because after that, then what's keeping you?
What's left,
right? What's keeping you? So the loving is good, but if they don't have the intellect, the understanding, the comforting, if you're not going to be the full package, then why I'm going to sell it for a piece of the pie when I can have the whole pie? That's right. So it's just that's old school. That's old school, and I understand that. But that's me. I have a seasoned spirit. Thank you, Jesus. But I believe that that we, what you, as Dr. Serrano said, your upbringing matters. Mm-hmm. People, your upbringing matters. So if you weren't given love, if love wasn't bestowed upon you, if you went in your upbringing feeling left out, alone, abandoned, unappreciated, and of no value, when you meet someone, ultimately it may not show up on the first date, but those tendencies and those things that you learn, those learned behaviors will begin to show up in the relationship. And at some point they'll be like, well, who's that person?
Mhm.
So we need to talk about our upbringing. Hey, what was your upbringing like? You know, if it's a sore area, then wow, I'm sorry that's, you know, that's hurtful to you to discuss. You know, we don't have to talk about that right now, but just know, you know, I can be here for you as a sounding board, right? Because they have to get that comfort level to be able to share those inner things. But if you know that that is a soft spot for them, then you want to watch that, be mindful of that in your communication, in your delivery, and how you communicate with them. Because you know, people have triggers. And so you want to be able to understand and learn that. It's a lot, singles.
It is a lot.
But it's worth taking the time to investigate and to have that communication with the person that you like or are leaning toward. You know, you've been hanging out now for 2 years and y'all still haven't talked about your hopes, dreams, and desires. That's a problem. You know, you still have no sense of what direction you're going in. Oh, but he's such a good friend. Oh, but she's so beautiful. I love spending time with her. But, you know, I don't know. It just seems difficult to talk about it. No. You got to talk about those things, because that kind of communication becomes very toxic to the relationship as it progresses. And ultimately, if you do go down the aisle of I do, understanding after the covenant and the vows, covenant is a game changer. It is a game changer. You can be together for 10 years, but after I do, honey, you watch the hand of the enemy and how quickly he will be throwing them fiery darts at you. And if you're not covered and if you're not on a solid foundation, then you are going to have some real earthquakes that may bring that city down.
Wow. Look like we're gonna have you back for girls' night. And the women gonna be, oh my God, just to have you both. I appreciate you so much. And you know, we're talking about today about up-leveling your marriage. You know, it's so important to keep that flow, keep building. It's not over. Like, even if you've been 20, 30 years, you have to continue to keep building. So what is your tips? Give us a couple tips to keep up-leveling your marriage.
Yes.
Wow. So I would say rebranding yourself, right? Because after 10 years, after a certain amount of years, listen, that person, your spouse, is not going to be the same person, and they should not be the same person. I think it's pretty bad if they are the same person, right? You have to rebrand yourself with that spouse in mind. You know, and listen, I'll give you a testimony for me, because this was some years ago, but I had to change. Y'all ready for this? All my underwears. Because some men keep them forever. So listen, man. And I looked at magazines and I said, oh my God, I want to look just like that in my undies. So I got some new undies. And I walked by her. She said, "What?"
I was like, "Where they come from?"
I
said, "Like, oh, you like them?" She said, "How they look?" I was like, "Oh, they look kind of cute, honey."
So I just kept on. Listen. You have to revamp yourself. You have to rebrand yourself. Rebranding is changing the old and bringing in the new. I mean, you know, you have to do that. In business, they do it all the time. You know, and if you don't do that at home, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So rebrand yourself.
We need that's a whole lesson right there.
It is. That is a whole book.
I like that.
That's a whole book. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Rebranding your marriage, honey. We said it first here on the Dr. Talisha Berry show. Don't you take our title. I promise you. I will fight you for it. Tony Moore.
There's another tip.
That was good. That was good. That was funny. So, I mean, one of the things that I think is important in marriage is keeping the laughter too. You know, making sure you're laughing and you're having a good time.
right.
So
That's right.
what was one of the, maybe a funny moment that you've had that's just hilarious that you never forgot?
So I'm gonna get to the funny moment,
Go ahead.
but I
That's
want
a
to
good
talk about one more tip I want to give
Okay,
the
go ahead.
audience. I
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
tell you, your marriage should never ever be on autopilot. Why? Because listen, when you're on autopilot, it may not
That's
work all the
true.
time. Because you have to
Gotta
make
be ready.
decisions,
Yeah.
decisions that are going to help you both reach your goals. Listen, married couples and singles that are desiring to be married, never lose you in the relationship. When God is saying the two shall become one, right? That is progression. Become
Yeah.
is something that you're continuing to do. The two shall become one, right? And part of how you do that, of course, is through the coming together in the bedroom. But the other part of that is understanding that you are still an individual.
Wait a minute. So you're not supposed to stop making love
Absolutely
as
not.
you get older?
You better not.
No matter how long you've been married?
Listen, I mean, y'all can have some decision making on
All right now, y'all hear that out there?
30, 40,
Don't
50
stop.
years.
Don't stop. Go ahead.
A song just went in my mind. I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna drop it. But what I'm saying to you is never lose yourself.
That's right.
And listen, do your vision boards, because the word of God says, write the vision and make it plain.
That's good.
You need to write down your dreams, goals, hopes, and aspirations. And then you need to come together at least twice a year, minimum, right? You can do it on a quarterly basis. It's even more wonderful because you begin to see how those things manifest and you begin to see them become what you asked for. But write the vision together, but then write your individual dreams,
right.
hopes, and aspirations.
I have my dreams too.
Okay.
Amen.
Because it's important that you don't lose you in the equation. I hear a lot of couples saying, I don't even know what I want anymore. I don't even know what I want anymore. That means they've lost hope in their dreams and desires. They lost focus off of where they were. So I'm going to tell you, get in realignment. Get in realignment. Come back in touch with you. Get clear on the man and the woman in the mirror.
Yeah.
Never lose yourself, because then you lose your soul.
Yeah, that's right. So what was the question?
So your question,
That was good.
That was powerful.
That was good.
Yeah, I wanted to share that because I thought that was just really, really good. But you were asking about up-leveling.
I was asking about funny.
Something being funny or something funny.
There you go.
Something funny that may have occurred, because I think laughter is important. That's biblical. How important is laughter and keeping the fun going, and what has been one of the funny moments in your marriage?
Laughter is every day, all day in the Serrano. We
have a
laugh
good time.
at each other. We laugh with each other. I laugh sometimes when I just think about the things that my husband does, because Richard is so he's so what I want to say, genuine in all that he does. And so, I have to laugh at him because he likes things a certain way. One of the things that we do is, he might like the light down low and I may like it up high. He may want the water cold and I may want it room temperature. We have to laugh at each other sometimes, because sometimes we slip up. The 5 love languages is loving someone the way they desire to be loved, right, and not how you want to be loved. So you give them what they want, and then they in turn give you what you want. And so we find ourselves laughing all the time, because every once in a while we slip back into, this is how I want it, what I want. I don't eat onions. But I just put onions on that salad. I'm sorry.
we do change.
It's like,
I don't like onions anymore. I don't like tomatoes anymore.
And those are the changes I have to adjust to. We're laughing about that, and it may seem very trivial, but let me tell you, people fist fight over things like that. I told you I didn't like onions on my salad, and you put them on there, and that's a black eye. Because you put onions on the salad. So we do have to be very mindful. Know your mate, and then honor and respect their desires. Like, why can't you not put onions on the salad? I know that was a whole lot about laughter, but I think it's important. If we learn to love people the way they desire to be loved, I think our households would be a lot more harmonious. Because we crack each other up.
That's good. It's important to laugh. So many couples don't have laughter. It's always drama or fighting and arguing, and laughter.
Me being like my mom.
Important. Now we're gonna play a little bit of name that tune game here.
Okay.
Let's talk about one song, a love song. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say the lyrics. And as you kind of remember the lyrics, I want you to join in and sing it. If you get the lyrics, I think you should.
Oh, Father, no, that's gonna be hilarious.
Oldie, but a goodie. It's an oldie but a goodie, and I'm not gonna tell you who the artist is, but you will. I think you'll know who this is. The lyrics is I'm so in love with you. Whatever you want to do is all right with me.
Wow.
Because you make me feel so
brand new.
Brand new.
Keep going.
Was that right?
I want to spend my life with you. Yes.
Whatever you want to do.
Yes.
It's all right with me. You
en español.
Make me feel so brand new.
Oh, yeah,
I want to spend life with you. Come on, baby. Let's stay together. Ooh. Loving you weather is all right with me. All right. I think that's about all I know.
Thank you. Thank you for
through the good, through the bad. Okay. Right.
Thank you for being on Courageous Women Speak. I thank you so much. I want to share with the audience the cover. They're on the cover of a Valentine's.
Oh, beautiful.
It's available on our website. You can go to courageouswomanmag.com and read their stories. They're a phenomenal couple. I'm going to call y'all for counseling myself. This was a lot. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you so much. Like, tell people where they can find you.
Yes, absolutely. So you can find us at Marriage CEOs with an S 360.com. It will lead you again, Marriage CEOs 360.com, and that will take you to all of our social media. You'll have access to our YouTube, our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, our LinkedIn, and all of those sites. So we try to make it easy for you, easy breezy.
That's right.
Awesome. And I thank you so much. And I look forward to having you all back again. We're going to do something real fun with the network of Courageous Women, because this was a lot of fun. Awesome. And so many people, married and single, need to hear how to make their relationships work, including me. So
awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. This was great. I think this needs to be done so much more often, just so that people can have an opportunity to be able to learn from each other, because we grow together and we are always better together.
And bring me some Hispanic folks, will you?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was the Serranos. They were awesome. Again, you can go to our website, courageouswomanmag.com, and read their cover story. They're on our Valentine's cover story. So you can go there right now and read at www.courageouswomanmag.com. And if you're a couple and you're interested in sharing your story, we have a new project coming up. It is called Couples Therapy. So if you are looking for opportunities and ways to push your brand as a couple, as married counselors, go ahead and get that information. It is on our website for you today. So again, thank you for joining us. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook as Courageous Woman Magazine, or you can go to our website and subscribe. It is courageouswomanmag.com. Till next time, go be courageous.
Love is in the